Hello there and welcome to the second lesson of our course. Now in this second lesson we'll be discussing about some more details for the panels that we had started discussing in our previous lesson. And we'll also be exploring some new menus along the way, so yeah, just keep an eye out for that. So for example, if I just give a quick recap, in the first lesson we discussed that this whole panel in the middle, the giant screen in the middle, is the main workspace, or it is called the viewport. And this one right over here, this panel right over here is called the outliner panel, and we can use it to see the objects in our scene. And the panel right below it, which is this one we discussed that it is the second most important panel after the viewport, obviously, and it allows us to change the properties for most of the things inside of Blender. So this one. And we also discussed about this panel right over here. Now we discussed that this panel is only useful for animators, so this is called the timeline panel. And if you'll be going towards, let's say, the modeling side or the sculpting side, then you do not need to worry about this panel. Okay, so yeah, that was just a quick recap of everything, of not everything, but regarding the panels we had discussed in the previous lesson. So yeah, let's jump right into the second lesson. So what we'll start off by discussing about the outliner panel. Now, as mentioned earlier, we have already discussed about what the basic functionality of the outliner panel is, which is to show the objects in our scene. So right now what I will just do is I will just move this cube. I'll just select it. Actually, before that, I will just turn on my screencast keys, so you can see each and every button I press. Now what I will just do is I will just select this cube and then I will move it on the x-axis. So remember how we move objects? We press the G key and then the X, to move we just press the G key, and if you want to move on a specific axis, then we can just press the name of the set or name of that axis. So let's say I wanted to move it on the x-axis, that is why I pressed X. So yeah, what I'll just do is I will add a new object, and how we do that is by pressing Shift plus A. So I will just go to the meshes, and then I will add, let's just say I will just add in a UV sphere. Okay, I'll just scale it up a bit by pressing the S key, and yeah, as you can see here, now what we have a simple cube and a UV sphere, and that is also shown on the outliner panel. Now now there are a lot more functionality for the outliner panel, so we'll discuss some of its functionality right now. So let's say I just added in a sphere right now, but let's say we want to delete this cube, but not actually delete it. We want to store it in the background memory. So let's just say that we simply want to hide it from our main workspace for the time being, and when we need, we can just bring it back whenever we want. So kind of like temporarily deleting the cube. So how we can just do is we can head over to the outliner panel and then click on this eye icon. So there you go, the cube is now gone, but it is not deleted. That is what I want you to understand. We did not delete the cube, but we just hide it. So if I just want, I can just bring it back by clicking on the same icon again. And alternatively, if you just want to learn the shortcuts, which I definitely recommend, so what you can just do it, we can select this object or this cube in this case, and then I will just press the H key. So to hide, I can just simply press the H key. Now to bring it back, I can just press the Ctrl plus Z key if it is the latest action, or what I can just do is I'll just hide it, and then I will press Alt plus H. So now what it will do is it will just unhide all of the objects that were previously hidden. Okay, so again, to hide objects, I can just press the H key, and to unhide, I can just press Alt plus H. There we go. Now I want to discuss one more thing. So what we'll just do is I will select both of these objects, and I will just move them on the x-axis. Now what I will just do is I will add in a Suzanne monkey. So Shift plus A, and I will just add in a monkey right over here. And again, I will just scale it up a bit. There we go. Now, what you can obviously see is that these two objects are, you could say, basic geometrical shapes. However, this monkey or this Suzanne head is a much more complex shape or a much more complex model. So we should differentiate it in the outliner panel, and that is a good practice to do it. So how we can just do it, as you can see, we have our main collection right over here. Now what we can do is we can create new collections to differentiate between models. So for example, I'll just select these two primitive or these basic geometrical objects, and then I will press the M key, and then I'll press the new collection, and then I'll just name it basic geometrical objects. There we go. And as you can see, they are sorted into a new collection. And same for the Suzanne monkey head. I can move it into, or I can create a new collection and move it into it. So I'll just press the Suzanne monkey head, and then I will press the M key, new collection, and then I will just name it complex objects. There we go. Now as you can see here, both of these objects, which are the basic geometrical objects, are differentiated from the complex object, which is the Suzanne monkey head. So yeah, this is a really good practice to differentiate or to organize all of your models into the respective collections. So it just keeps things much more organized. So yeah, that is it for the outliner panel for now. So what I'll just do is I'll just get rid of the annotations. Yep. There we go. So now what I'll just do is I will just move towards the properties tab, which is this one. This properties tab. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this properties tab is the second most important one after the viewport, obviously. So what it allows us to do, it allows us to change our render properties. It allows us to change our output properties, scene properties, world properties, object properties. It allows us to add modifiers, particle systems, and physics simulations. And even it allows us to add textures and materials. Now I know everything I just said probably went over your head, and yeah, that is because we have not discussed most of these things. And yeah, that is perfectly planned, and you're not supposed to know these things yet. So I just wanted to give a bit more detail about the properties tab, and yeah, we won't go into any of the details right now. But yeah, I just wanted to keep this in mind that slowly but surely we'll be covering a lot of these properties in the coming lessons. Okay, so yeah, let's just come towards the timeline panel, which is right over here at the bottom. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, this is only useful for animators. So for right now, we'll be just doing some basic animation. So yeah, for example, we have our whole timeline over here, and its starting frame is 1 and ending frame is 250. Now if you want to see the frames per second that this animation will be working on, what we can just do it, we can just go to the render properties, or actually it's the output properties. Yeah, so we just go to the output properties, and then we have the option for the frame rate. So right now it is set to 24, but if I just set it to 60, it will the animation will play much more faster, as it will have much more frames in a second. So what I'll just do is I'll just create a simple animation. So let's just say that I'll just select these objects, move them on the x-axis. So just kind of align it in the middle. Yep. So what I just wanted to do is I'll just move this UV sphere on the y-axis, this Suzanne monkey head on the z-axis, so upwards, and this cube on the x-axis, so to the left. So how can we do that? Well, for that we'll need to use keyframes. Yeah, so what I can just do is I can just add in a keyframe by selecting any of the objects that I need to add the keyframe to. So for example, for the cube, let's do the cube first. I'll just click sorry about that voice crack. So I'll just select this cube, and then I will press the I key. So as you can see here, it just added in a you could say, golden icon over here in the timeline panel. So what it did was it just saved the properties for the location, rotation, and scale at that specific point. So now what I'll just do is what I can just do is I can just move over to the frame number 24, and I can just add in a new keyframe. Now notice how this notice that how there's like a golden bar connecting both of the keyframes. Now that is because Blender is showing us that hey, both of these keyframes have the same properties. That is because we haven't changed any of the properties for the keyframe at the frame number 24. So what you can just do is what I will do is I will just delete this keyframe right now, and then I will move this cube on the x-axis right over here, and then I will add in a new keyframe. Now if you just go back, as you can see here, we have our cube moving on the x-axis, just like so. And now if you just want to move it back in a second, what you can just do is you can just click on the initial keyframe. I can just click on I can just right click on it, duplicate keyframe, and then I can just place it at the 48th frame, so right over here. So it will just, so what will happen that this cube will go over here, and that will come back to that exact point. So let's just try it out. Yep, everything seems to be working fine. Now as you can see here, you may have noticed that when the cube starts moving, it starts off quite slowly, and then it picks up speed, and then it slows down at the end of the keyframe, or at the end of the second keyframe. So if I just showcase it again, as you can see here, it starts off slowly and ends off slowly. And if we just reduce the frame rate, then it may be a bit more apparent. So what I can just do it, I can just decrease it to, let's say, 10 FPS. Now it will be a bit jittery, but it will give you a better idea. As you can see, it's just starting off slowly, and then it just picks up speed slowly. And yeah, it will be a bit more clear if I just delete this and this keyframe, and then I move it on the 58th frame. As you can see, it just slowly picks up a speed, and it is the most fastest in the middle, and then the most slowest at the both the starting and the ending points, as you can see here. Again, I will show it, as you can see here. So why is that? Well, by default, Blender just has the busier transformation and busier animation selected. So for example, if I just select all of these keyframes, and then I press the T key, as you can see here, Blender has already selected the busier interpolation. So let's just say that if we want to change it to linear, so the speed will be the same on each second, or on each point. So what I can just do is I can just press the linear key. So if I just go back, and let me just change the frame rate now. As you can see here, the speed is constant. It does not start off slow, or it just speed is just completely constant. It's just a straight line, as you can see here. As you can see, it's just a straight line. Now there's also an option for the constant. So if I just select the constant, nothing will happen until it reaches the second one. So it will just instantly move towards that point. So yeah, for now I'll just change it back to the Bezier curve, Bezier interpolation. Okay, so we have created the animation for the cube. Let's discuss about the UV sphere now, and we want to move it on the y-axis. Now what we can just do it, we can just do the same thing. I'll just add in a new keyframe at the start, and then I will just go to the 58th frame, move it on the y-axis, and add in a new keyframe. Same for the Suzanne monkey head. I will go to the start, and then I will just move it. I will just add in a new keyframe, sorry. And I will go to the 58th keyframe, and then I'll just move it on the z-axis. I'll add in a new keyframe. There we go. Now all three of these objects will be moving. There we go. How cool is that? You see? That's pretty cool in my opinion. Again, let's see the creation that you have created. Look at that. Okay, so now we have discussed about the basic animation. Now let's say that we can all agree that it is a bit tedious to manually add keyframes. So what we can just do is we can just turn on this option for auto keying. So for example, if I just have the if I have the monkey Suzanne head selected, and if I just make any changes, Blender will automatically add new keyframes. So let's just see the changes. As you can see here, any changes I made, Blender will add a new keyframe, as you can see here. So this is pretty useful, but you need to be careful. So you need to be responsible with it. So you need to turn it on or off based on your needs. Right now I'll just turn it off. Okay, so yeah, that is it for the panels we had discussed in our previous lesson. Let's discuss about some more menus. So on the top of your screen, you may be able to see, well, you must be able to see these panels, or I'm talking about these menus right over here, these custom menus. Now what are these menus? Now these menus are completely you could say optimized. The Blender community, or not the community but the Blender developers, have created menus to optimize the workflow for each of the specific tasks. So for the modeling, there is a specific menu for the specific workflow. But yeah, for the sculpting there is another one, and as you can see, there are so many tools, so many options that are more available in these menus. So how can we do that in the simple layout menu as well? Well, do not worry about that. We won't be discussing in this lesson, but we will be in the future lessons. So I just wanted to give a quick overview about the menus. Okay, so yeah, let's just discuss about some. Wait, let me just get rid of the annotation. Yep. Okay, so now we are done with the menus. Now let's move towards to some quick tips and some shortcuts. So you may have noticed that this first, let me move towards the first frame. You may have noticed that this sphere and this monkey head are not smooth. Like we had discussed in the previous lesson, the basic overview of the faces. As you can see here, the faces are not smooth. As you can see here, it's just quite prominent and quite sharp. Well, we can just change that with a simple click, or actually 2 clicks. So what you can just do is we can just select this cube, or sorry, not the cube but the sphere, and we can just press the right key. We can right click and then shade it smooth. And there we go, we have shaded this whole sphere smooth. And now we can just do the same for the Suzanne monkey head. There we go, now it is all smooth. Now there's also one more thing. Now there are 3 more options, 3 options in total. So for example, first I'll change it to flat again. And there's another option called the auto smooth. So the auto smooth allows us to change the value of smoothness based on the angle. So as you can see, as I slowly but surely increase it, it just makes it more and more smooth. As you can see, there's one point where the horizontal lines are not smooth, but the vertical lines are very smooth. Now we can more precisely change the value by holding down the shift key and then just dragging this key, as you can see here. So you see that some part is shaded smooth and some part is not. We can do the same for the Suzanne monkey head. As you can see here, it just slowly gets more smooth and smooth, as you can see here. I'm slowly dragging the mouse by holding down shift, and as you can see, slowly but surely it is getting more and more smooth until it becomes completely smooth, as you can see. So yeah, this is for the shading smooth, to making your models look much more better and much more beautiful. One another thing I want to discuss, that let's say we want to look at our specific model from a specific angle. In the orthographic view mode, so we want to view our model in the orthographic view mode for an specific axis. So I want to view it on exactly the x-axis, so exactly from this side. But as you can see, it is just quite hard to align it. Well, for that, what we can just do is we can click on these icons over here. So what I can just do is I can just press the specific key to switch to the specific orthographic view of a specific axis. As you can see here, now you can already see that how useful this can be. And for example, if you want to switch to the y-axis, we can just press the shortcut key, the number pad 1. For the x-axis, it is number pad 3, and for the z-axis, it is number pad 7. There we go. Now, one more thing I want to discuss about that how we can just duplicate objects and how we can instance objects. Now, for example, let's say that we want to duplicate this monkey head. What we can just do is we can press the key Shift plus D, and as you can see, we have duplicated this object. And now we can just keep on duplicating it, just like so. And as you can see here, our whole scene is filled with monkey heads. Now you can select multiple objects and duplicate them as well. So as you can see, we have duplicated all of these objects and created more of them. Okay, so now let's discuss about the instancing. Now, what is instancing? Now we just learned that we can just duplicate the objects by pressing Shift plus D. But as you can see, all of them have the separate properties. So I just don't really want to go into a lot of detail right now. But for example, if you were to edit this specific monkey head, then if you were to edit it in the edit mode, then only this one will be edited. But let's just say if you were to press Alt plus D, and okay, I'll just go over to the edit mode right now just to showcase that specific property. So I'll just go over here and go into edit mode. And for example, we just scale it right over here. As you can see here, as this was an instance object, both of these objects are linked. So all of the changes that I make to this object or to this object will be applied to both of these, as you can see here. Now I'm just using the simple tools that we had discussed, that were the scale tool, the move tool. I won't be discussing anything else right now for the edit mode, but I just wanted to give you an idea about what instancing is. So this can be really useful. For example, if I just instance it once again, and if I just select this one and I scale it, now as you can see, all three of them are being changed. But notice that if I were to do it in the edit mode or in the object mode, nothing will happen and it will just change independently, as you can see. So this is what instancing is. It takes an instance of that object and it creates a duplicate based on that. Okay, so yeah, one cool thing I wanted to showcase. Now let's just play our animation now. Let's just see what happens. As you can see, all of those objects are compiled into the same place, or into the same you could say the same position, as we just duplicated them and we didn't change any of the properties. So as you can see, there are just multiple spheres overlapped on each other, multiple Suzanne monkeys, multiple spheres. So yeah, this is something that you need to be careful about when you are working with the animations. So when you're duplicating them, and yeah, just make sure that they are not overlapping. So yeah, that is it for the second lesson, and I hope that we have learned something new and have gotten a better idea about the features of Blender. So yeah, we'll be meeting in the next one. Until then, have a great day.